In 1953, there was no CN Tower in Toronto. So much of 1950s Toronto is gone. Back then, businesses were closed on Sundays. Alan Lamport was the mayor, and the population was over 1 million people. There was more coal and smog, and Ontario started their first TV station, CBLT, broadcasting in Toronto. The first English broadcast of Hockey Night in Canada was televised from Maple Leaf Gardens. What is now known as the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto was a Bank of Montreal branch in 1953. This building was built between 1885 and 1887. The Great Fire of 1904, over 100 buildings in the downtown core were destroyed, but the Bank of Montreal was spared. This could be because of the Ohio freestone that was used to construct this building. The building is quite ornate with many carved stone details, and customers would enter the bank through the building's main doors at the southeast corner. In the ceiling of the banking hall is this gorgeous stained glass dome. There really isn't another stained glass window like it in the city of Toronto. This glorious dome is filled with bright colors and mythical creatures. At the time, banking halls really didn't open up their banks to natural light. This stained glass dome was built by McCausland Glass and had been created by the founder's son, Robert McCausland. Robert's great-grandson, Andrew, restored the stained glass to the way that you see it today. Such a beautiful interior of a bank, and such a tragedy unfolded here. Dorothea Mae Elliot was described as the most popular girl working at the bank. A beautiful, tall, buxom brunette. Co-workers described her as the life of the party and always smiling. But on the morning of March 11th, 1953, co-workers noticed she looked distressed and disheveled. Co-worker Doreen Bracken said she looked pretty rough, probably had a night out. Normally sophisticated, her blue knit dress was wrinkled and untidy. Dorothea had been in the bank before 8 a.m., which was much earlier than she would usually start work. Because of this, her co-workers were teasing her a bit, and Dorothea just shrugged it off and smiled. Dorothea went up to the second floor and stayed there for some time. She came back downstairs for a short while and then returned to the second floor. Everybody was getting ready to start the workday in the bank. Zita Rushbrook, a co-worker of Dorothea's, went up to the second floor washroom just after 9 a.m. Soon after, she rushed, screaming, to the balcony that overlooked the main floor of the bank. Len Redwood, who was the bank's messenger, quickly ran up the stairs to discover Dorothea's body slumped in a Windsor chair. In those days, banks kept guns in case there was a bank robbery. It appeared that Dorothea had shot herself in the head with the .38 caliber revolver. The Toronto Star reported that years later, Len Redwood's son Vic said that his father had told him an ambulance attendant carried Dorothy downstairs, likely still alive, in a wooden Windsor-style chair. He went on to say that that chair was in his parents' cottage as late as 1990. Nobody in the bank had heard a gunshot. Also on the second floor was an apartment where the married bank manager lived. The apartment was above the bank's vault that now houses the Stanley Cup in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Dorothea had been transported to St. Michael's Hospital. After she died, there was a short story in the newspaper. It read, 19-year-old clerk of the Bank of Montreal, Yonge and Front Streets, died today in St. Michael's Hospital of a self-inflicted revolver wound in her head. Death came 22 hours after she was found in the washroom of the bank. Doctors were amazed she had lived so long. The attractive girl who lived with her married sister on Burnhamthorpe Road, Islington, is believed by police to have been lonesome for her boyfriend, who left during the weekend to take a job on the boats. Entering the office early, she was kidded, police said, by other employees about getting in so early. She shrugged her shoulders and smiled, then walked over to the messenger's desk. Without being seen, she took the revolver and went to the washroom, where she was found a short time later. Doreen Bracken, Dorothea's co-worker, is believed to be the last person to see Dorothea alive. Paul McLaughlin, working at the Toronto Star, spoke with Doreen in the early 2000s, and she said this of her co-worker. I wasn't very sophisticated at the time, but she was. There were rumors why Dorothea had killed herself in the bank. People speculated that she had been stealing money, but she had been doing well financially. There was another story that she was upset because her boyfriend had left her, or that she had discovered members of the IRA were planning to rob the bank. What seems to be the truth is that Dorothea was having an affair with the married bank manager. And perhaps it was not a wild night out, like her co-workers thought, but a wild night in. Dorothea had lived in present-day Etobicoke. It would have taken her quite some time to travel from Etobicoke to the bank, and she was already there quite early. Perhaps she had been staying over with her bank manager boyfriend, and we think that he broke up with her. Did Dorothea kill herself because he broke up with her? There are reports of paranormal activity in this building from the 1980s. A man told a story of leaving his desk for a moment, and when he returned, all of his papers and coffee had been strewn all over his desk. He said there was no way for it to have been any of his coworkers because they were too far away. Before the Hockey Hall of Fame took up residence in this building, a harpist by the name of Joanna Jordan was playing for an event being held in the Great Hall. She said that she looked up and saw an apparition of a woman staring down at her. Joanna had never heard about the haunting before. Years later, when she visited the Hall of Fame, she would not go up to the second floor. In 1993, this building became the home of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Since its opening, there have been many stories of strange occurrences happening in this building. Some staff have heard footsteps when working alone at night, or lights turning on and off themselves. Rob Hines, who was a special events supervisor, told Paul McLaughlin he was in a kitchen that runs behind a second floor conference room around 6 a.m. He said that he got a feeling to enter the conference room, which was in darkness. He was quoted as saying, "One of the chairs, and this is the God-honest truth, was turning as if a breeze was in there. It actually moved right into my hand. I'm rather skeptical about ghosts, but I just freaked out and ran out of there." One summer, a young boy was visiting the Hockey Hall of Fame, and he started screaming, "Don't you see her? Don't you see her?" Jane Rodney was a coordinator at the Hockey Hall of Fame at that time, and she said that the little boy claimed a woman with long black hair was going in and out of the walls. Many people who have worked in this building report paranormal activity, such as lights turning on by themselves, cold spots by the vault, or just feeling a presence. I can't help but wonder whether Dorothea didn't do this to herself. Why did no one hear the gunshot? There were no silencers for revolvers. Did she try to kill her boyfriend bank manager and he took the gun from her? How will we ever know? Why do we know nothing of the bank manager? There were no reports of what his account of that day was. For such a seemingly happy, popular, beautiful 19-year-old, how could she be so distraught by a breakup? Do not let a breakup ruin your life. By the time Dorothea was 9 years old, both her parents had died, and 10 years later, she was dead. What happened, Dorothea? This popular girl at the bank, described as the life of the party. Her living relatives don't want to discuss her. They don't want to feel like it's some mockery of her life and death. So I just hope her soul can rest in peace.